Grace with CrispySkates. And tonight we are picking up where we left off last night with the wind and the willows. All right. I fear, dear friend, said Toad with a sad smile, that talk can do in this case, like this, or doctors either for that matter. Still, one must grasp the slightest straw. And by the way, while you are about it, I hate to give you additional trouble, but I happen to remember that you will pass the door. Would you mind at the same time asking the lawyer to step into? It would be a convenience to me, and they are moments, perhaps I should say a moment, that one must face disagreeable tasks at whatever cost exhausted to his nature. A lawyer? Oh, he must be really mad. The affrighted rat said to himself after he hurried through the room, not forgetting, however, to lock the door carefully behind him. Outside, he stopped to consider. The other two were far away, and he had no one to consult. It's best to be on the safe side, he said, on reflection. I've known Toad to fancy himself frightfully bad before, without the slightest of reason, but I've never heard him ask for a lawyer. If there's anything really the matter, the doctor will tell him that he's an old ass and to cheer up, and that will be that. Something gained. I'd better humor him and go off for it. It won't take long. So the rat ran off to the village on his errand of mercy. The toad had hopped lightly out of bed as he heard the key turned in the lock and watched eagerly from the window disappear from the carriage drive. The lightly hearted dressed as quickly as possible in the smartest suit he could possibly lay his hands on in the moment, and filled his pockets full of cash as he took from the small dressing table. Let me just change the page. Hi, welcome. I just backtracked just a little bit just to catch up. Here we go. Next, knotting the sheets from his bed together and tying one end to the improvised rope around the central melusion of the handsome Tudor window which formed the feature of his bedroom. He scrambled out, slid slightly to the ground, and taking opposite direction to the rat, marched off light-heartedly, whistling in a merry tune. It was a gloomy luncheon, and the rat and the badger and the mole at length returned and had to face them at the table with his pitiful, unconvincing story. Oh, thank you, Mela Lopez. That's so kind of you. Thank you for being here. This is The Wind in the Willows. I've been thinking about that one too, though. Maybe we'll read some verses. It was gloomy luncheon for the rat and the badger, and the mole at the length returned. He had to face them at the table and his pitiful, unconvincing story. The badger, caustic not to say brutal remarks, may be imagined, therefore passed over. It was painful to the rat that even the mole took his friend's side far as possible, not to help but saying, "You've been a bit on a duffer this time, Ratty. Toad, two of these animals, tie them up." "He did it awfully well," said the crestfallen rat. "He did you awfully well," rejoined the badger hostily. However, talking won't mend matters. He got clear away from the rat. That's certain, and the worst of it all, he'll be so conceited with what he'll think is cleverness that they may commit any folly. And one comfort is we are free now and needn't waste time of our precious time doing such surrendering go. But we'd better get to continue to sleep at Toad Hall for quite a while longer. Toad may be brought back at any moment on a stretcher or between two policemen. So spoke the badger, not knowing what the future held in store or how much water and how turbid the character was to run under the bridges before Toad sit at ease in his sensual hall. Meanwhile, Toad, gay and irresponsible, was walking briskly along the high road some miles from home. At first, he had taken bypaths and crossed many fields and changed his course several times in case of pursuit. But now, feeling by this time safe from recapture, the sun smiling brightly on him, and the nature rejoining the chorus of approval to the song of the praise that his own heart will be singing to him, and he danced along the road in satisfaction and conceit. Smart piece of work, he remarked to himself chucklingly. Brain against the brute, and the brain came out of the top. It's bound to do so. Poor old Ratty. My, he won't even catch it when the badger gets back. A worthy fellow, Ratty, man, with many good qualities, but very little intelligence and absolutely no education. I must take him in hand and day and see if I can make something of him. Filled one conceited thoughts such as these, he strode along his head in the air and reached the little town of where the red lion, swinging across the road halfway down the main street, reminded him that he had not had breakfast that day and that he was exceedingly hungry. After all, his walk was long, and he marched into the inn and ordered the best of luncheon that he could possibly provide it on a short notice, and sat down in a coffee room. Now he was about halfway through his meal when an only too familiar sound approaching down the street made him start and fall and trembling over. Pop Pop drew nearer and nearer. The car could be heard in yard coming in to stop. The Toad hold on to the leg of the table to conceal his overmastering emotion. Presently the party entered the coffee room, hungry, talkative, and gay, voluble of their experiences of the morning and the merits of their chariot, and had brought them along well. Toad listened eagerly, all ears for a time. At last let me change our page here. Could stand no longer, he slipped out into the room quietly, paid his bill at the bar, and soon as he got outside, sauntered around quietly in the inn yard. There cannot be any harm, he said to himself, in my only just looking at it. The car stood in the middle of the yard, quite unattended, and stable helps and other hangers on being all at the dinner table. Toad walked quietly around it, inspecting criticizing, musing deeply. I wonder, he said to himself presently, I wonder if the son of a car starts easily. The next moment, hardly knowing it came about, he found himself he had hold handle and was turning it. and the familiar sound broke forth of the passion-seized toad and completely mastered him, body and soul. And as if he was dreaming, he found himself somehow seated in the driver's seat. As if in a dream, he pulled the lever and swung the car around the yard and out the archway. And as if in a dream, all sense of right and wrong and fear and obvious consequences seemed temporarily suspended. He forth on the high road through the open country. He was only conscious that he was the toad once more. Toad at his best. Toad at his biggest, his highest. Toad the terror. The traffic quarreler. The lord of the lone trail. Before whom must give way or be smitten into nothingness and everlasting night. He chanted as he flew, and the car responded. The sonorous drone, the miles were eaten up under him as he sped, he knew not whither, fulfilling his instincts, living in his house, reckless what might come to him. To my mind, he observed the chairman and the bench of the magistrates cheerfully. The only difficulty that persists itself is the otherwise very clear cases how we can possibly make it sufficiently hot or incorrigible rogue and hardened ruffian whom we see cowering in the dark before us. Let me see. Has he been found guilty or on the clearest evidence, first of the danger and the 30 gross impatience rule of police? Oh, hi. How are you? Oh, you have a toothache. I hope you feel better. Yes, I would love to. I will message you tomorrow. The magnificent, great of all time. Definitely. We shall go live together. The clerk stretched his nose with his pen. Some people would consider, he observed, stealing the motor car was the worst offense, and so it is. But checking the police undoubtedly carries the severest penalty. Absolutely, Mr. Magnificent. You let me know how that tooth goes. And as soon as you're ready, we're going to plan something and we're going to have a great game. It'll be fun. Thanks for being here. And thank you for always having your support. You guys, if y'all want to watch a great channel, check out the greatest of all time, Chris the Magnificent. He has a ridiculous amount of attention on his channel. Many, many views. Many, many views. Very, very interesting content. Let's build him up. Until tomorrow, everybody. I've got a sleeper next to me, so I don't want to disturb. But keep it crispy. And good night, everyone. Good night, the greatest of all time, Chris the Magnificent. Peace out.